Best Chance's eyes widened at the mess of vinyl pieces scattered like snow on the green grass. She pressed her hand against her mouth, not caring that she'd carefully applied her lip gloss just moments before. This was a travesty. Behind her, her friend Krista gasped. "Oh, no, this isn't happening!" Bess rushed toward what should have been a romantic balloon arch made with white Tiffany blue and cherry blossom pink balloons. Now the only thing left was the arch itself made of PVC and 3 white balloons at the very top. She attempted to gather the pieces. Her freshly manicured fingers scraped against the cool blades of grass as dread took over her. It was noon, 6 hours before her dearest friend's engagement party, a party she'd been planning for the last month. Matilda, the future bride, was like a sister to her, and since Matilda's parents lived out of state, Bess had agreed to take care of the pre-event details. After all, she loved party planning, and this should have been a no-brainer. Maybe it was the wind, Krista said, though the squeak of her voice betrayed her. It was a warm June in the Shenandoah Valley without a cloud in the sky. And judging by the rising temperatures, there wasn't much of a breeze either. I don't think so. Bess stood and scanned the isolated area of Bluette Fields, a park on the outskirts of her little town of Peak. Not a soul was present. That was except for a car that had just rolled up. Someone did this. Out of the vehicle stepped out the future groom's Jared's mother, Evangeline Espiritu, and 3 others who Bess assumed were out-of-town guests. "What are they doing here so early?" Krista asked. "I have no idea, but I definitely don't want Eva to see all this and worry." Eva was the owner of Spirit of the Shenandoah B&B and had enough to manage with entertaining her own guests. "You go and keep them away from here. I'll call Bill." She all but shoved Krista toward the group, then scrolled her emails for her contact at the balloon company. As she began to dial, a text came in from Linda Matthews, the mother of the bride crisis at the airport. Bess abandoned the call. The back of her neck prickled with sweat and nerves. She texted, "Hi. Everything okay? Our flight's postponed. Plane issue." Bess shut her eyes to steel herself. Linda and Phil Matthews lived in West Virginia, but were flying in from an extended vacation in Europe. Bless her heart, Linda had insisted that the timing of her own daughter's engagement party wouldn't pose a problem, and yet it had been one little issue after another. Linda was also a micromanager, though Bess would never say it out loud. "Keep me posted" was all Bess could type back. "Is the balloon arch up?" "Yes, ma'am," she typed back in full honesty. After all, the arch was up. Then Linda sent over a screenshot of the party checklist update. Bess moaned. But if she wanted everything to go without a hitch, she would need to not only nail down the details of this party, but also satisfy the mother of the bride too. Which meant rescuing every missing balloon before the party started, even if she had to sprout wings to catch them. Cole Espiritu begrudgingly trailed after his parents and aunt as they walked the grounds of Bluette Fields, halfway listening to their conversation. The maid of honor was leading them to the wildflower gardens, which he had zero interest in seeing. After all, it wasn't as if he'd chosen to be here. His parents had demanded that he attend Jared's engagement party. Yes, Cole was 37, but one would never dare defy Filipino parents, especially when it came to family events. Cole's problem was that he didn't even know the groom, his newfound cousin. Jared Sotheby was the son of Cole's late Tito, or Uncle Louis, from another woman. A shock, because Tito Louis had passed almost 2 decades ago. Jared had apparently showed up not even 6 months ago in the guise of Tita Eva's new chef at the B&B. Cole took it back. A shock was putting it mildly. Okay, so maybe Cole was also little salty about the fact that Jared had gotten engaged to Matilda in that same amount of time, a little surprising when Cole had never been as lucky in the love department. The final straw, Cole had turned down a photography client to attend this affair. A shadow to his left nabbed his attention. 3 kids sped through a bank of trees. Their cackles reached his ears, reminding him of the kids he took photos of in Mindoro, a small province in the Philippines. It was for his passion project, documenting his first visit to his grandparents' home, that he was wrapping up. One day he would finish it. As they approached the perimeter of the wildflower gardens, where the green of the meadow transformed to purples and oranges and yellows, another woman strode up to them. "This is Best Chance, our party planner," Eva said, introducing her to the group with a bright smile. When she got around to introducing Cole, Bess's gaze barely skimmed his face, landing on the screen of her phone. A rude gesture on her part, though he was mesmerized by her. As the group entered the garden, he hung back with the woman. Bess was stunning with chestnut brown hair and deep brown eyes. She was white, fair-complected, and she wore what looked to him a vintage dress made of denim, with a flared skirt and a belt that cinched her waist, accentuating her hips. Her lips were cherry red, and he couldn't keep his eyes off them as she spoke with urgency in her voice. He couldn't quite discern what she was saying, but by the time he caught up, he could tell that things were a mess in engagement party land. "I can't believe it! The arch is ruined!" she ranted. "A balloon arch," he guffawed. "What's the big deal? They're just balloons. First world problems." Anger flashed in her eyes. Just like a man to say something like that. He crossed his arms over his chest. "Now isn't that sexist?" Her gaze turned stormy. Sexist, knowing that he'd stymied her, sent a flare of pleasure through his chest. Being here instead of on the job was bad enough, but it didn't mean he was going to roll over at this woman's generalization, despite how pretty she was. Bess's brain was overloaded by this conversation that she didn't have time for, and especially with this man who... She shook herself and took a good look at him once more. Of Asian descent, he had light brown skin, short wavy hair, and tattoos that peeked above the neckline of his shirt and down one arm. In the commotion of the afternoon, his name had gone in one ear and out the other. "Who are you anyway?" "So you're too important to remember people who were just introduced to you 5 minutes ago." His eyes flashed. "I'm Cole Espiritu, Eva's nephew." "Look, Cole." She heaved a breath, impatience nipping at her heels. "Everything you said is fair. It's not your fault. You're not really knowledgeable about how these events come together." "Wait, did you just call me ignorant?" "Not just that, but insensitive. To the fact that everything, absolutely everything today should be perfect. And currently, it is not." His shoulders reared back. "Wow. So not only did you forget my name, you also called me ignorant and insensitive." She raised a finger at him. "And in the same amount of time, you insulted all my efforts to make this party the best for Matilda and, oh, your cousin." Bess was burning up all the way up to her cheeks. It didn't help that, among other things, the photographer she'd hired for the event had called in sick. Bill from the balloon company hadn't picked up, and now, this man. This annoying, though gorgeous man was questioning her choices. Had she gone overboard with the party? She could have made it simple. A backyard barbecue, an informal event at the community center, or heck at the Spirit of the Shenandoah B&B where Matilda worked. But no, Bess had to go with the whimsical blue skies theme from her own engagement party Pinterest board that she'd been adding to for years, because she certainly didn't have any use for it herself. It wasn't like she'd been in a serious romantic relationship in about 5 years. The pressure in her eyes increased. Oh God, she was going to cry. "If you'll excuse me," she said, turning away. No, she couldn't break down in front of everyone, especially in front of this infuriating newcomer. She still had hours before the party with too many things to fix. Bess placed one foot in front of the other until she arrived at her car where there was no one around. After placing her hand on the hood, she inhaled, then exhaled. She would not fall apart. "Hey!" A voice came from behind. Her exasperation switched to renewed frustration. What more did this guy want? She turned, ready to up her defenses, even more to tell him that he didn't have the right to deem what was or wasn't important. Her priority was the party, not Cole's feelings, even if he was the groom's cousin. Cole peeled the words off his teeth, despite the insults Bess had laid onto him. "I'm sorry." For real, Bess's tone was suspicious. "These parties, the hoopla, they're not me. It's not my comfort zone at all. But putting the party or your effort down ruins it for everyone, so yeah." Truth be told, Cole might have been able to dish it out, but when he did hit a person's nerve, it triggered his guilt. His friends had always teased him that he was a little soft underneath it all. His job as a photographer was to capture the raw beauty of things and then leave them as he'd found them. When Bess had walked away, clearly both angry and hurt, he'd understood that he'd made her situation worse. "Well, you're forgiven." Her eyes fluttered upward to his face, and he was seized with the honesty in them. "Cool. I don't want to be blamed for upsetting the party planner," he added, clearing his throat. "Don't you worry about that. I'm going to get the blame no matter what," she said under her breath, looking off in the distance. "No one's going to blame you for a messed up balloon arch. The bride's mother might say otherwise. And then there's the photographer who canceled this morning." "Photographer, huh?" At the sound of his profession, he bit his lip. "Don't do it, buddy. Don't you even think about it." Portraits weren't his thing. He preferred landscapes, architecture, animals. People were complicated, and when you had to get them to pose, people turned finicky. Nope, he wasn't going to offer. "He's sick." Bess pressed her fingers against her forehead. "And Linda Matthews, the mother of the bride. Her flight's delayed, which means she won't be here to help make these decisions." Cole had the inkling to gently take those fingers and hold them to soothe her worry. His empathy rose at the frown on her face. And though it went against his instincts to inquire about people's problems, he said, "What can I do to help?" She guffawed. "That's nice of you to say, but you're a guest." "Which means I can't." "No, it means that you shouldn't have to." The woman was stubborn through and through, it seemed, which motivated him even more. "Look, you might as well put me to work. My parents are spending the afternoon catching up with my aunt. And for one, prefer not to be there." "Why?" "I just don't." His answer leapt off his tongue with more bite than he anticipated. Last thing he wanted was for her to be curious and ask about the reasons behind it. Long story. "But help me stay busy." "Okay. I'll need to buy balloons and a balloon pump at the craft store and get started on building that arch up." "That's light work. I can blow up balloons, and you can tell me how you want them attached to that arch." She seemed to exhale. "And while we're doing that, I'll call around for a backup photographer." He clocked the hesitance in her voice. "What happens if you don't find one?" "It'll be a bummer not to have professional pics." She frowned. "But I can try to find an attending guest with a bona fide camera to take photos." "And everyone has their phone." "No." A groan escaped from him. iPhones took awful photos. Though Cole didn't know Jared well, he deserved the benefit of photographs that Cole could easily provide. But the people. The people. Then again, he would love to put a smile on Bess's face. He shook his head at what he was about to do. "I've got a better idea. How about I take your photos?" Cole said. Bess blinked up at Cole in disbelief, and beats of silence passed before she could gather her wits. "What do you mean you'll take the photos?" She was still in shock at how Cole had come after her, that this tough-looking guy was willing to admit he'd been wrong. And was willing to blow up balloons for a party he didn't even want to attend. But this this was above and beyond.
I'm a professional photographer,
He said. She peered at him, and she couldn't connect his words to its meaning. A photographer. She assessed the rest of him once more. Cole was wearing a fitted black t-shirt over Levi's and rugged boots. No doubt the man was good-looking, but he was more like a get on my motorcycle and straddle my body with your thighs kind of good-looking. Bess's cheeks heated at the thought. At her silence, his gaze sharpened. Those eyes were searing, challenging her. Why is that surprising? She snapped herself back to present and remembered who she was talking to. I don't know. With your cheerful attitude, I figured you weren't the type to people please. Though at the mention of pleasure, Bess burned up in a whole-body core-clenching way. Stop it! This is not the time! A grin slipped out. I mostly take photos of landscapes. Just came back from a trip to Okinawa. Next week I head to Madrid. These surprising facts flipped the switch in her thoughts, and Cole looked for a lack of a better word different. You travel a lot, he nodded. I'm lucky enough to do it for work. That's great. I love to travel too. I can't take much time off, but when I do, I like to get out of town. It unlocks something in my head to see other perspectives. Yeah, every new place reframes the world. I'm a better photographer because of it. The conversation was running away from her. She had an inkling to ask him about where he'd been, but she had to remain focused. And you're willing to take our photos? Not my usual cup of tea, but yeah, for Jared, I'll do it. But, do you have a camera here? He snorted. You're asking a professional photographer if I have a camera at the ready. Her mind went into the clouds again. It was the confidence in his voice that brought her there. Not only with the knowledge that he had traveled to places she'd longed to explore, but that his experience might solve a huge obstacle in her day. Well, do you? I never leave home without one. I even have an extra lens in my kit that I think will work out for portraits. Was this really happening? All at once, the heaviness on her shoulders eased. Wow. Nothing else seemed to want to come out of her, except those words. Then she lifted herself to her toes and threw her arms around Cole. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah. You're welcome. His voice rumbled, and she felt it against her own chest. His arm around her waist grounded her, and she was comforted for the first time today. You're literally saving me, she was compelled to say. It was then she noticed the heat of him through his shirt and his flexed body under her fingertips. He stilled, and his slackened grip around her waist. When she leaned back on her heels, the expression he gave her was unreadable. She could kick herself for what she'd said. Saving me, really, Bess. Normally, she would take the time and mull over how mortified she was, but not now. Well, I'm gonna head over to the party store and grab the balloons. Give me your number. He nodded and unlocked his screen. Where should I meet you? She typed in her name and number. Back here is great, in the all-purpose room in there. She gestured to the squat building off to the side. The catering company should arrive in a few hours, and I want to make sure we get all the decor in place before they have to set up. After she handed him his phone, she opened her mouth to say thank you, but he spun on his heel without a goodbye. Cole's mother wouldn't let him get away without peppering him with a million questions. Wait, you're leaving us? Anna Espiritu asked, while sipping on her iced coffee. They'd made it back to the Spirit of the Shenandoah B&B and were sitting on the patio overlooking the autumn landscape of the Shenandoah Valley. There were riots of color reds, golds, oranges in the forests as far as the eyes could see. He needed to find the time to explore the B&B property's back trails. He itched for his camera, but that would be for later. Bess needs help with the party. He looked off to see his father exit through the back door of the B&B. Thank goodness. He would help Cole out. But we're having a family get-together before the party. It made no sense to have a party before the party. It's fine if I miss it. I'll be with everyone all evening. Don't you want to meet Jared before the party? Ma, what are you talking about? I met him. That was on video chat. Like I said, we'll be together all afternoon. Thank goodness his father arrived, sipping his own iced drink. Troy Espiritu smacked his lips together. This calamansi juice is exceptional, made just like how they did back in the province. Cole smiled. His father could be counted on to break the seriousness. Troy was the charmer and entertainer, just as Cole was the family black sheep. The Espiritu family was large cousins ran amok. And while he'd attended all the parties as required by their big family, he didn't always feel comfortable. Adding another cousin, Jared, who he was sure had heard of his reputation and who could also treat him like an oddball, didn't sound fun to him. Okay, Ma. See you soon. Cole walked backward for his escape. Cole. An exasperated sigh escaped his mother's lips. Troy, please help me. What? What's going on? Troy snapped to. He wants to leave. Again, Cole wrapped an arm around his father's shoulders. Not leave. Help. I'm going to help with the engagement party. His father's eyebrows lifted. Oh, with who? Best chance. You met her earlier. His father smiled, the kind that was too mischievous for his own good. The kind that had wished for Cole to be married and with kids a decade ago. Oh, we can't be the reason to keep him from helping. It was the kind of smile that Cole should put a stop to, because despite how good it had been to hold Bess for that brief hug, it had simply been a fleeting moment. But it was the kind of smile that worked on his mother, because she sighed, which was a good enough answer. I'll come get you right before the party. He doubled back and kissed his mother on the cheek. A loud, exaggerated kiss, and slipped out the side of the B&B. He got in the car and drove back to Bluet Fields. And despite his best efforts, despite his excuses that he was only helping because Bess needed it and nothing more, he felt his body light up when he walked through the community center doors to find her surrounded by white balloons ready for the arch outside. And when she smiled up at him, two thoughts rang through: that she had to be one of the most gorgeous people he'd met, and that he wanted to be the person who continued to put a smile on her face. Upon seeing Cole, Bess exhaled with relief. She finished tying up a balloon and let it go among the others on the floor, then got to her feet. Hey, only about 100 more to go. She'd rushed the last hour and a half, stopping by the party store and her house for supplies, and then grabbing something on the go from Tin Cup Cafe. Also, I picked up lunch. She headed toward her things set atop a round table. We should eat first because once we get going, I'm not sure when we'll get to stop. He followed from behind. Is that a picnic basket? Oh, uh-huh. Why? I don't know anyone who has ever used a picnic basket. Now you know me. She flipped a lid up and dug through to hide her smile. Somehow it felt good to know that she could surprise him too. I grabbed a roast beef sandwich, a chicken sandwich, and a vegetable wrap. She shrugged. I wasn't sure what you'd like. That's nice of you. He stepped up closer to inspect her choices. With less tension between them, she took him in slower this time. The tattoo that peeked out from his neckline was an intricate vine with tiny flowers interspersed. His lips were full, and he sported a minuscule scar above his right eyebrow. When his eyes met hers, they were a deep brown. She couldn't look away. She wanted to know more about him, what made him tick. His lips moved, though she didn't discern the words until he said, Bess. She awoke. Oh, what? What do you want? What did she want? A kiss, perhaps? Which sandwich, he asked. Right. She swallowed to tamp down the giddiness that had no business taking hold hours before a party that she was supposed to execute flawlessly. Oh, I'll take the chicken. Unless you want the chicken. You take the chicken. I'll take the roast beef. He gently set the sandwich in her hand, and the change in weight woke her all the way. Focus! She took a seat at the table, as did he, and unwrapped her sandwich. He did the same. They both began to eat. The silence was deafening, and she hated silence. Bess searched for anything to say. So why didn't you want to come to the engagement party? When he didn't answer right away, she clarified. You said earlier that you didn't want to be here, that you didn't want to meet Jared. It's not that I don't want to meet Jared. It's that these big family events, they're not my thing. Ah, you're an introvert. Somewhat. But also, one doesn't look forward to family events when everyone's got their opinion on what they should be doing in life. She frowned. They don't like that you're a photographer. Not just that. They think I don't spend enough time with the family, that I'm out of touch with everyone else. Wouldn't I like to be in a more stable job? Don't I want to be married? He took a Herculean bite out of his sandwich, and with what seemed like minimal effort, swallowed it all in one go. Bess was drawn into him, eager and curious, especially to his response to that last question. Marriage, and how far away she was from it, was always on her mind too. And what's your answer? What was he doing unloading his baggage on this woman? One thing he'd learned, in addition to the clear fact that people would always have their opinions about his personal life, was that most folks weren't in the mood to listen to others. Apparently, except for Bess, because she said, I feel you. Folks like to ask me when I'm going to settle down, or they tell me I'm severely late to the baby game now that I'm over 35. And frankly, they can kiss my ass. He straightened in his seat. She seemed like this buttoned-up type A woman who had everything together. You're not seeing anyone then? Me, no. Do you think I need someone? She peered at him. Not at all. But I thought, you seem like your life is so perfect. Does perfect mean having a partner? No. He shook his head. That's my issues coming through. I suppose that's part of what I think being put together means. Though saying out loud, I know it's not true. Or I hope not anyway. I'm far from put together. She stared at her chicken sandwich, though she didn't take a bite. I mean, look at how this party planning is going. I wanted to handle all this myself, thinking that I had the most time, because the rest of my girlfriends have their own families to deal with, and my only kids are the ones at the teen center I manage. But I think I bit off more than I could chew. Cole was half listening, distracted by movement off in the distance, out the window. But he was stuck on the words, severely late to the baby game, and I had the most time. Empathy roared through him. He couldn't let this woman who had only showed him good things, albeit with some attitude in the beginning, feel that way. For what it's worth, I think everyone plays their own game, and you're just in time for yours. And for the record, your time is as valuable as everyone else's, single or otherwise. She looked away. That's nice of you to say. More movement in the area of the balloon arch. Cole spotted the same 3 kids from earlier. So you work at a teen center? She beamed. Yep. My pride and joy. I run an after-school program. We have about 25 to 40 kids that come in after school, depending on the season. You can't imagine how much energy they have. The kids outside had dragged over a ladder. One was climbing up, and one was tossing something in the air. A roll of toilet paper. He'd bet that they had a ton of energy. Do the kids know that you're planning this engagement party? Oh yeah. They even helped. Interesting. It is. She took a bite, chewing slowly. He glanced at her, debating how share his suspicion that her balloons had been taken down by her own kids as a part of an elaborate prank. Cole, what's up? Promise you'll remain calm. Just because you prefaced it with that,
No, fair enough. But I think you might know who messed with your balloons.
He gestured at the window behind her. She sat up in her chair, head swiveling. Oh my God.
So you do know them.
She headed to the sill. I sure do. Tommy Miller, Joe Banks, and Edwin Lee. Cole noted how her expressions changed in the span of seconds, and he worried his lip.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Disappointed, though, if it was really them.
But yeah.
She exhaled, then shook her head, a small grin forming on her lips. But if they are the perps, then I know how they can make it up to me.
Let's go.
Her expression was wicked, and it sent a thrill through him. It was enough to inspire him.
For a moment he thought, I'll follow you anywhere.
Those dang kids. Bess loved them to death. She'd been a witness to their squabbles, first crushes, and many conversations that would have shocked their parents. She tried hard to be a source of support to them whenever they were under the teen center's roof. But this prank was unacceptable, even if as the minutes passed, her disappointment eased. Cole, too, seemed to brighten as they advanced. As Bess and Cole skirted the perimeter of the open field, he transformed into a playful instigator.
It was kind of cute. Come on.
He waved her over to a bank of trees that placed them behind the arch and feet away from the boys.
Tommy, get it already,
Joe said, holding the ladder.
My mom's gonna kill me if she notices that I took all the TP.
Joe was standing precariously on the ladder and winding a toilet paper roll around the PVC pipe.
It'll be worth it,
Edwin said from the other side of the arch with his own toilet paper roll.
She's gonna be so mad.
He snorted.
She'll never know it's us.
Tommy cackled. Bess bit her cheek to stifle a laugh despite herself. In front of her, Cole turned. He waved her forward and offered his hand. She took it, and something between them sparked, or she thought so anyway. Then he leaned in his lips so close to her ear.
When I count to 3, try to grab one of them. Okay.
Except Bess wasn't okay. She was far from it. A delicious shiver had rippled through her, because their faces were inches away and close enough to kiss.
Bess.
She regained her senses. Yeah, okay. 1, 2, 3, he whispered, and with a tug of her hand, they burst through the bank of trees.
Gotcha.
Cole's voice boomed, catching Joe as he fell off the ladder. Bess grabbed Tommy by the shirt, though he didn't resist his shoulder slumping. Edwin threw the toilet paper to the side, his hands up, in surrender. I cannot believe the 3 of you. Bess shook her head. Did you take down the balloons, too? It wasn't my idea, Tommy yelped to the objections of his friends.
Tommy.
His face fell. We thought it would be funny. I spent a lot of time and effort on this party. Versions of I'm Sorry's came from the trio of pranksters. Bess peered at them. Knowing their parents, they would be in big trouble, and she couldn't stay mad at them for long.
Well, there's only one way to fix this.
She turned to Cole, and his expression told her exactly what he was thinking.
You all are going to fix this, Cole said.
Cole imagined it would have been quicker for him and Bess to put up the balloons themselves, rather than having to manage 3 boys doing it. But Bess had been intent on teaching them a lesson. Currently, he was watching Bess direct the boys in reattaching the balloons to the arch, and he was more impressed by Bess than the arch itself. She was so good with them. He remembered himself as a teenager, and he had been just like Tommy, a little sarcastic, a little self-deprecating, and a lot naughty. He'd caused his mother more heartburn than dairy. But Bess let everything roll off her. She was cool, though empathetic. She listened to the boys as they complained, but she didn't feed into it. She was just everything. Beautiful and caring and sexy. It was a wonder that she wasn't dating anyone. Then again, it was good news for him.
You're assuming a hell of a lot right now, buddy.
He frowned. What was he thinking? They lived across the country from one another, and Cole. He refocused on Bess, a hand extended for the next balloon. You don't think it's pretty? She asked. He pressed a blue balloon into her hand. No, I think she's really pretty. Then realizing that she was asking about the arch, he amended, I mean it. Her cheeks reddened, and he wasn't sure if it was makeup the way her skin took to the sun, or if she was blushing. Only 3 hours had passed, and he wished for more time alone with her because the party would begin in a couple of hours. And he was leaving tomorrow. He didn't want to think about it. As she fastened the balloon, he said, What did you have in mind for the party photo shoot? Candids, mostly of Jared and Matilda, and maybe a few snaps of them and family. Will that be okay? Sounds easy enough. Done, Tommy said from the other side of the arch. They all stepped back to admire the arch, which admittedly looked dang good. Are we still in trouble? Joe asked, with a hint of guilt in his eyes. What do you think? Cole Bess asked. Are they out of the doghouse? And for a reason he couldn't pin down the fact that she included him in this decision made him warm from the inside out. I don't know, that balloon over there's a little off-kilter. All 3 kids groaned, and it made him laugh. Just kidding. It looks good to me. How do you kids say it? It ate. Tommy shook his head and moaned. Joe slapped his forehead with a palm, and Edwin said, Please don't, Mr. Cole. Respectfully, no. Apparently, Gen Alpha lingo doesn't sound good on you, Cole, Bess said, though her eyes were alight. It was so gorgeous that he would do anything so she would look at him like that again. Seriously, though, you kids are off the hook. The boys cheered. But raise your right hands. They complied. Now repeat after me. I promise. She waited until the kids repeated what she said. To play? No more. Pranks? Today? Which means you'd better cut out whatever else you're planning, Cole added, examining the guilt on the boys' faces. Yes, Mr. Cole, they all said in unison. Good. Go. Bess gestured to the right, and the boys took off running. Bess laughed at their departure, the sound of it thrilling Cole down to his core. It added to all the ways she had surprised him today so much that he braved taking her hand into his as he'd done earlier. Her laugh simmered down eyes to their linked fingertips. She smiled at him, stepping in his direction. Is this okay? He asked, resting a hand on her waist. The space between them vanished, and her hand made its way on his shoulder. More than. Then magnetized and drawn in by the intensity of the last few hours, Cole threw caution to the wind and kissed Bess.